Death Spire, a name that sends shivers down the spine of anyone who hears it. A name whispered in fear, passed down through generations as a warning. A monolith of stone and ice, shrouded in perpetual mist. Its peak is rarely seen, hidden behind a veil of clouds that never seem to part. It loomed over Redwood Point, casting a long, dark shadow that stretched across the land. A constant reminder of its ominous presence. Locals spoke of it in hushed tones, their eyes wide with fear. They shared stories of those who ventured too close, never to return. A place of dread, they said, a place of death. The mountain was a graveyard for the brave and the foolish alike. For centuries, Death Spire had drawn adventurers and thrill-seekers. They came from far and wide, lured by the promise of glory and the ultimate challenge. Its sheer cliffs and treacherous slopes promised the ultimate challenge. Many believed that conquering Death Spire would etch their names into the annals of history. But the mountain held secrets, hidden trails that led to nowhere, paths that seemed to shift and change with each passing day. Dark secrets that whispered on the wind. The very air seemed to carry the voices of those who had perished, warning others to turn back. Secrets that claimed the lives of those foolish enough to seek them out. Abandoned gear and makeshift campsites were all that remained of many expeditions. Old maps and journals told tales of strange occurrences. Compasses that spun wildly, time that seemed to stand still, and eerie lights that danced on the horizon. Some spoke of ancient ruins hidden deep within the mountain, adorned with cryptic symbols that no one could decipher. Local legends and folklore were rich with stories of ghostly apparitions and malevolent spirits that guarded the mountain's secrets. Even the most experienced climbers and mountaineers approached Death Spire with caution. They knew that the mountain was not to be underestimated. Storms seemed to gather out of nowhere, lightning striking near the peak as if the mountain itself was alive and angry. Memorial plaques and crosses dotted the base of the mountain, tributes to those who had lost their lives in their quest to conquer Death Spire. Families mourned their lost loved ones, tearful goodbyes echoing at the mountain's base. The pain of loss was a constant companion for those left behind. Rescue teams often scoured the mountain, searching for any sign of the missing. But more often than not, they returned empty-handed. As the sun set over Death Spire, the mountain was bathed in an eerie twilight. It stood as a silent sentinel, guarding its secrets and waiting for the next brave soul to challenge its heights. Under the night sky, the stars twinkled above the dark peak, a stark contrast to the foreboding presence of the mountain below. Around campfires at the mountain's base, adventurers shared stories by firelight, their faces illuminated by the flickering flames. They spoke of the mountain's allure and the dangers that awaited. Death Spire stood tall and imposing, a testament to nature's power and mystery. It was a place where legends were born and lives were lost, a shadow that would forever loom over Redwood Point. A century ago, a team of seasoned climbers had dared to conquer Death Spire. This formidable peak, known for its treacherous conditions and unpredictable weather, had long been a challenge that many had attempted, but few had survived. The climbers, equipped with the best gear of their time, were determined to make history. Led by Professor Caldwell, a renowned explorer and adventurer, they vanished without a trace. Caldwell was a man of great ambition and courage, having led numerous successful expeditions before. His reputation was built on his ability to navigate the most perilous terrains and return with stories of triumph. This journey, however, would be different. Their last known camp was found abandoned, tents ripped apart, equipment scattered. The scene was one of chaos and mystery. It was as if the team had left in a hurry, leaving behind their supplies and personal belongings. The harsh mountain environment had taken its toll, but there was something more sinister at play. The only clue was Caldwell's journal, filled with frantic scribbles about strange lights and unsettling noises. The entries became increasingly erratic, describing phenomena that defied explanation. Caldwell wrote of glowing orbs that hovered in the night sky and eerie sounds that echoed through the mountains. His final entry was a desperate plea for help, cut off mid-sentence. Whispers of a curse began to circulate. The locals, who had always regarded Death Spire with a mix of awe and fear, spoke of ancient spirits that guarded the mountain. They believed that the climbers had disturbed something that was never meant to be awakened. Locals claimed the mountain was haunted by the spirits of those it had claimed. Stories of ghostly apparitions and unexplained disappearances were common. Some said they could hear the voices of the lost climbers carried on the wind, calling out for help that would never come. The lost expedition became a chilling legend, a cautionary tale whispered around campfires. It served as a grim reminder of the dangers that lay hidden in the world's most remote places. Adventurers and thrill-seekers would gather to share the story, each adding their own embellishments and theories about what had truly happened to Caldwell and his team. Death Spire, they said, did not give up its secrets easily. The mountain remained an enigma, its mysteries locked away in the icy peaks and shadowy crevices. Despite numerous attempts to uncover the truth, the fate of the lost expedition remained one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of the mountaineering world. The legend of Death Spire continued to grow, drawing in new generations of explorers, each hoping to succeed where others had failed, but always with the knowledge that the mountain might never reveal its secrets.
Now a new team of explorers stood at the foot of Death Spire, ready to face the same challenge.
Led by Dr. Emily Carter, a renowned archaeologist, they sought to uncover the truth behind the legend. Emily was driven by a thirst for knowledge, a desire to understand the unknown.
Joining her were seasoned climbers, scientists, and a local guide named Jake, who knew the mountain better than anyone.
They carried with them state-of-the-art equipment and an unwavering resolve. They believed they were prepared for anything. They were wrong.
As they ascended, the mountain seemed to close in around them. The air grew thin and cold. The wind howled like a banshee. Strange shapes appeared and disappeared in the mist. Whispers seemed to emanate from the rocks themselves.
These are bad omens, ancient spirits angered by our presence.
Oh, Jack, it's just superstition.
But as the sun began to set, casting long, eerie shadows across the mountain, an undeniable sense of dread settled over the camp. They were not alone. The scream pierced the night, shattering the stillness that had settled over the mountains like a heavy blanket. Echoing through the silent mountains, the sound was both haunting and urgent. It was Jack. Heart pounding, Lucy and the team rushed out of their tents, their breath visible in the cold night air. Panic surged through the group as they tried to locate the source of the scream. The wind whipped at their faces, carrying with it the scent of pine and the promise of danger. It howled through the trees, adding to the eerie atmosphere. The mist swirled around them like phantoms, obscuring their vision and making every shadow seem like a lurking threat. They searched frantically, calling out Jack's name into the void. Their headlamps cut through the darkness, casting long, eerie shadows on the ground. The beams of light seemed to dance with the mist, creating an otherworldly scene.
Over here, a voice called out, filled with a mix of hope and dread.
Then they saw it, a shadowy figure in the distance, barely visible through the thick mist. Jack's mangled body lying at the edge of a precipice, illuminated by the pale moonlight. His limbs were twisted at unnatural angles, and his clothes were torn and dirty. His eyes were wide with terror, staring unseeingly into the night. It was as if he had seen something so horrifying that it had frozen him in his final moments. His face was contorted in a silent scream, mouth open in a final desperate cry for help that had never come. There was no sign of a struggle, no footprints or disturbed earth to indicate a fight. The ground near the cliff edge was undisturbed, as if Jack had simply walked to the edge and fallen. No indication of what had caused his fatal fall. The cliffside was peaceful yet perilous, a silent witness to the tragedy that had unfolded. Fear, cold and sharp, gripped their hearts. They were trapped in the mountains, miles from civilization, with no idea what had caused Jack's death. The realization that they were not alone, that something or someone was out there, watching them, sent chills down their spines. They huddled together, their faces pale and eyes wide with terror, knowing that the night was far from over. Whispers filled the air as they discussed their next move. Should they stay and wait for daylight or try to make their way back to safety in the dark? The decision weighed heavily on them, each option fraught with its own dangers. They gathered around a map, tracing their route with trembling fingers. The path back was treacherous, filled with steep drops and narrow ledges. But staying put seemed equally perilous, with the unknown threat lurking in the shadows. With a sense of grim determination, they decided to move. Packing up their gear quickly and quietly, they prepared to leave the campsite. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig made them jump. Their nerves stretched to the breaking point. They moved cautiously through the dark, their headlamps casting eerie glows on the path ahead. The forest seemed to close in around them, the trees whispering secrets they couldn't understand. Lucy led the way, her face set in a determined expression. She knew they had to keep moving, had to stay ahead of whatever had taken Jack. Her mind raced with possibilities, each more terrifying than the last. They glanced nervously over their shoulders, feeling the weight of unseen eyes on them. The sense of being watched was almost palpable, a constant reminder of the danger they were in. As dawn began to break over the mountains, the first light of day piercing the darkness, they felt a glimmer of hope. The night had been long and terrifying, but they had made it through. The light brought with it a sense of relief, but also the sobering realization that their ordeal was far from over. Exhausted but relieved, they paused to catch their breath. The morning light revealed their haggard faces, the toll of the night's events etched into their features. They knew they had to keep moving, but for a moment, they allowed themselves to feel the relief of having survived the night. With renewed determination, they continued their journey, driven by the need to find answers. What had happened to Jack? What unseen force had caused his death? The questions lingered in their minds, pushing them forward step by step into the unknown.